Do you know what the ScratchThat magazine is? ScratchThat is a student-run QUT magazine for students and by students, showing creative work that include art, podcasts, music, photography, and more. Today we will be talking to 3 visual design students about their creative work, their practices, and how their art works in society. Izzy, it's really great to meet with you today. What has inspired your art?
From a very young age, I was encouraged by my mum to just make art because she was an artist, well, is an artist. So yes, from a very young age, she encouraged us to make art. She took us to galleries. We did like little pottery classes and things, and so yeah, as I grew up I just started to steal all her art supplies and eventually became an artist. So my mum. I investigate a lot of concepts. So of course there's self-portraiture, so ingrained in that is the self as well as depicting a woman. So there's the female body as well as feminism. So long history of depictions of women in portraiture and objectification and the male gaze. So my work really tries to tackle that and subvert the male gaze, introduce the female gaze. In terms of trying to subvert the male gaze, I often use abject feminism or objection. The abject is sort of the result of creating something like grotesque that refers to like bodily functions that are kind of taboo. So like for instance in some of my works I refer to blood and splattering and drips and bruising, sort of making the female nude and the female body impossible to sexualize because you're creating sort of a grotesque depiction almost. I am primarily a painter. I focus on acrylic paint mostly. So I tend to try and apply paint very gesturally and aggressively. I enjoy like splatters and drips and that sort of stuff to kind of incorporate the hand of the artist in the work because I am depicting myself, so there's kind of a duality of that, I suppose. I don't really like super realistic depictions of a human. I prefer to have a more gestural depiction of a human because I think it evokes more of the humanity, more of the imperfections, I suppose. So I tend to use acrylic paint. I water it down a lot to create like a dripping effect. So I use it because acrylic paint, it does dry faster, so it's good because I'm impatient. I've used them most of my life, so they make sense to me.
Can you tell us a bit about being an emerging feminist artist in Brisbane and what opportunities have you created yourself outside of the university?
I've made my own art collective, so with a friend I've made Your Pals. So it was established by our friend Sam Hope and myself. Often it's just so intimidating, the art world. It can be a little bit exclusive and pretentious at times. So our real goal was to create a safe space where it was just easy for emerging artists to make those connections and be friends and what art should be about.
Thank you, Izzy, for letting us sit down and talk with you and going through your deep and meaningful art. It was awesome talking to you. Hey Connor, I'm so excited to talk to you today. So can you tell me about what inspired your art?
This piece specifically is me trying to look at technology as a medium, as a material as opposed to just a medium, making a sculptural element out of the pieces that go into digital art that are usually behind the scenes or left unseen. I guess it's very digital inspired. I like looking at objects of fantasy and nostalgia a little bit. It's also very post-internet inspired as well. It's kind of like an exercising, sort of taking control of your interaction with technology, digital space, and even media. The interesting thing is that we all are often dealing with tech more and more. It's such a proliferating product. So I guess I like to look at not so much the effects that it has societally, but the effects that it has maybe emotionally. How much value do we place in something that is or isn't real?
How do you involve natural elements into your study of digital work?
A good example of that is I've 3D photo scanned a dead bird.
Wow.
So taking natural elements, 3D scanning them, and then I guess aestheticizing them, putting my own aesthetic on them in a digital space. On a surface level, like, you know, oh, this is the crystallization of this thing and it's now stored in a binary form. I guess it's interesting to consider that taking things from the natural world and putting them in the digital form is, I'm also trying to look at it ethically as well, as in like, because I'm not removing anything from nature, but I am capturing its essence, and is that something that we should be considering?
Well, thank you so much, Connor, for
Nice.
showing us your work.
Thanks for having me.
My practice explores fetishism, desire, womanhood, through an intersectional feminist lens, basically primarily focusing on mediated performance art, so filmed performance. I'm trying to confront the patriarchal regime throughout my work, which is why a lot of my work is quite confronting, with some unsettling sounds and sexual imagery and that sort of thing as well. This is still a research practice. I might not come to a conclusion as to how I can successfully self-objectify myself and then also reject the male gaze at the same time. But for me at the moment, I see myself as a technologically rendered body. I am not human in a sense. I am simply a digital image that you can interact with or ignore. And by providing that option to my spectators, it creates a nice layer or barrier as a safety net for me to objectify myself. Also, I'm in control of the movements and actions that I'm creating. So ultimately, I am allowing the self-objectification to happen, but I'm also being protected by the screen and therefore creating safe practice.
How does the context of the gallery shape your concepts?
I think it allows my work, depending on the install, to be immersive in a sense. I can control the lighting, I can control the sound, I can control where the screen's placed, like floor installs. Also changes the context, how the spectator views my work and looks down on me. And that's voyeuristic and objectifying myself in a sense. I think I can manipulate the spectator's experience within my practice, and that is inherently quite a feminist way to produce art.
Can you tell us a little bit what you're doing in the industry?
I'm a practicing visual artist. I also work at Venspace, which is an underground arts collective or community, I guess, and we have art exhibitions, fashion shows. It's a very eclectic group of people. But I'm also an emerging curator, so I run a business called Emergence Collective. We're a non-for-profit collective run by and for emerging artists in Brisbane. And our purpose is to be able to platform people, give them a safe space to exhibit. A lot of the artists who are involved with our shows, it's their first ever time exhibiting. So it's a really nice, wholesome community we have created. Because I remember the first time I exhibited, it was very intimidating, being around all these artists who knew what they were doing. But now we've been able to create a community where it's a safe space for them and there's no judgment, and we can help them curate their work and install however they like. Yeah.
That's so lovely. That's so great. And those were our three amazing artists, Sophie, Izzy and Connor, showcasing their art through their own mediums and through the ScratchThat magazine promotion. I'm Lizzie, and this is the ScratchThat magazine at QUT.